Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Dear students, now there has been a little bit doubt in your mind regarding when you study from the recordings, when you study from the videos and the material that we are providing, there is a little doubt regarding whether everything is covered or not, whether content is comprehensive or not, whether every element has been taken care or not, and this doubt is absolutely acceptable. And for that, what I am doing is, now after you complete every chapter, you will have one additional thing to be done, and that is that when you complete a chapter, see that I will take you through to the entire study material, help you see that whatever we have covered is there in the material, it is in the same logic or in the same sequence as we are covering it, and along with that, something very important to be understood, in the institute study material, that is ICI material, they have added test your understanding new questions. What happens is usually a student overlooks this, and because of this kind of negligence, which might not happen intentionally, but in the flow you might not go through this. So what I have done is I'll be completing the test your understanding questions also here together along with the MCQs and the descriptive discussion, so that your coverage will be 100% done. These test your understanding questions, why I call it to be relevant is, such kind of questions could be picked up to draft a case study kind of question. And then if you have gone through even once, you will be able to analyze, you'll be able to interpret, and most importantly, you'll be able to give the correct answer in the examination. So because you should not lose it at your end, which you might not, I know, but then even just for a safer side, what we will do is, from every chapter, I will pick up from the institute study material, from the beginning to the end, all the content, just for you to get an understanding that every element has been covered. This has to be done only after you cover the chapter. Only then you will get a confidence that what you have studied and what is there in the institute study material is exactly the same. Because when I look at the questions in the forum, I sometimes see that this is not covered and that is not covered. So basically, maybe the things would be here and there, but 100% everything has got covered. So just to give you that kind of another level of confidence, let us do this exercise also as a part of our discussion. So I'll take you through the entire chapter, every single line heading, so that you know that yes, everything is covered. Second important thing, in between there are test your understanding questions, okay, which are very relevant for the exam, and also new questions have got added, which will take up as a part of our discussion. And then there are case studies, integrated case studies in between, those have to be picked up, and then you have MCQs and descriptive questions. If you do this, then only we can call it to be 100% coverage. Okay, so though they are available in the institute study material with the answers, I would still believe that when you are studying from another material, you might happen to skip this, which you will not take it a risk at. Okay, it could come in the examination where you will have a complete ease of writing them, because there will be something that you have already gone through it. So with this, let us get started with the first chapter from the study material, which is going to be the nature, objective and scope of audit, where I'll first take you through the entire chapter, give you the confidence that what we have done, everything has been covered, and then we will pick up the test your understanding questions as and when they come in the flow of our discussion. Alright, so let us take it through. So the first topic for us was the nature, objective and scope of audit. Alright. So there we began our discussion, okay, which I have given you as a basic introduction, but then if you look at it, we understood in detail regarding the origin of audit, so that part has been covered in full. Then we have the meaning and the nature of auditing, where we discuss about what is audit, we discuss about the nature of auditing, okay, what is audit, is it investigation or not, all of those things have been taken care of, and we have done ample of examples here to understand the concept. Then we move on with the next one, that is interdisciplinary relationship, where we have compared audit with all the other disciplines, be economics, be behavioral science, be accounting, be law, all of these things we have taken into account and we have discussed in detail. Alright, so that is also covered in full. Objective of audit, we discussed as a part of 200 also, and I have given a clear discussion about the objective of the audit, that is to obtain the reasonable assurance and to give a report. So that also we have done in detail, so you will see that that is covered here. Then after that we talk about scope of audit, what audit includes and what audit does not include. Okay, that has been a detailed discussion as a part of our coverage. This has been taken, and that too exactly the same language and the same way it has been given in the material. Okay. Scope of audit, what it does not include, that part. Then as I told you, there are test your understanding questions there. As and when they come, I'll be picking up for you so that you'll have a clear understanding that everything has been covered. So let's pick the first one. Test your understanding question, and these all questions are based on the previous discussion that we have done. Okay, so here they see that whatever discussion has been done, whether you have understood the concept correctly, whether the application of that is understood or not. You'll be able to crack it very easily if you have gone through the lecture. But yes, for me it becomes very important that if it is there here, we are required to cover it together. Okay. So test your understanding. First one, Lalji Bhai has purchased shares of the company listed on NSE. The audited financial statements of the company provide picture of healthy financial position, that is performance, having robust turnover, low debt and good profit. So they are giving a very good picture of the company. On the above basis, or the basis of the above, he is absolutely satisfied. He is absolutely satisfied that money invested by him is safe and there is no chance of losing his money. Do audit results and audit reports of the companies provide such assurance to the investors? Is the thinking of Lalji Bhai correct? Now, if we have done the objective of the audit in detail, these words here are the highlighters. Objectives, and he is telling that his money is completely safe, okay, and there is no chance of losing the money. Now, very obviously here we understand that audit, as the very objective we understand, does not provide absolute assurance, does not give you the confidence that your money is going to be 100% safe and there is no chance of losing. So, the thinking here of Lalji Bhai is incorrect because audit does not provide absolute assurance. Audit provides only reasonable assurance, which is going to be a high level of assurance but does not give a guarantee. So, here we can say that his thinking is not correct because this word has to get replaced by reasonable assurance. Clear? Alright. Moving on to the next one, we have test your understanding. Second, Good Deeds Limited is engaged in the business of recycling of waste from dumping grounds of Municipal Corporation of Indore to a usable manure. It is in this way also making the city clean. So, they are given the description of the business. During the course of audit by Zoha & Zoha, a firm of auditors, it is observed by the auditors that the company has received a notice from Central Bench of National Green Tribunal for not following certain environmental regulations involving imposition of hefty monetary penalty on the company. So, they are not following certain regulations for which they are going to be punished with heavy penalties. The company is yet to reply to the notice. The auditors point out that the same is not stated in the notes to account in the financial statement. The company points out that auditors are beyond the scope of their work. Does this matter fall within the scope of audit? Now, tell me, when we discussed what is within the scope and what is not in the scope of audit, while discussing about within the scope, don't you think that disclosure of financial information is covered by the auditor's point? Yes. So, basically when we do the audit, we are not only concerned with the numbers appearing in the P&L balance sheet, but the disclosures to be given in the financial information is very much covered by our audit coverage that we are going to do. So, here it is not beyond. So, basically here the company's contention is wrong. This part, that it has not been reflected in the notes to accounts or the financial statements, is covered by audit. So, it comes within the scope of audit. So, can this be a reason for giving a modified or a different opinion? The answer is yes, because notes to accounts very much are covered as a part of financial statements, and so the audit does cover the disclosure information that has to be given as a part of financial statements. Clear? So, this is the contention of the company goes wrong. Then we have test your understanding 3. A huge fire broke out in Noida plant of KT Limited. Plant assets comprising building, machinery and inventories were insured from the branch of a public sector insurance company. Apart from an insurance surveyor who was deputed for assessing loss, the Regional Office of Insurance PSU also appointed a CA for verification of books of accounts, financial records of the company and circumstances surrounding the loss. He was also requested to submit an early report. Would the report by CA in nature of audit report? The answer is no. Point is very simple. Insurance surveyor is to understand the kind of claim, okay, that can be raised and how much can be actually paid. So, here what he is trying to do is not, he cannot obtain a reasonable assurance here. He has to actually do a detailed survey, okay, and understand about all the kind of losses and all that has happened and prepare a report. So, in this case it is basically not audit, it is going to be in the nature of investigation, okay, because they are telling here the insurance surveyor who was deputed for assessing loss, the Regional Office of Insurance PSU also appointed a CA. But only because you appoint CA does not mean he is going to do audit for what? Verification of books of accounts and financial records and circumstances surrounding the loss. So, basically here you are doing detailed checking, detailed investigation for the purpose of assessing the claim. So, here it is in the nature of investigation, okay, not audit. After that, you look at the next part of the discussion. Did we cover the inherent limitations of audit? Why? Because audit cannot give absolute assurance, it can give only reasonable. So, auditors cannot be brought to zero. Why? Because there is inherent limitation. And there we have studied about nature of audit procedure, nature of financial reporting, okay, relevance, okay, that is the data that you have got would become irrelevant over a period of time. It is not in the nature of investigation, okay. So all of these things are inherent limitation. You can see timeliness of financial reporting, relevance of information, and obviously future events. Audit is based on all the historical events. Okay, we cannot predict the future. So obviously there is going to be a doubt regarding all the conditions that can happen after the date of audit. It is a it's a particular time period thing which is done in the audit. But future events, can you give a guarantee about it? No. So these are all the inherent limitations, okay, that we have covered in detail. Then we move on to what is an engagement. Okay, the relationship with the client is considered to be engagement. External audit engagement, basically we have discussed about reasonable assurance engagements. Audit, where we understood about how you provide reasonable assurance. Benefits of audit, we have done a detailed discussion. Audit mandatory or voluntary, all these I have also told you the kind of question that could appear in the exam. So where audit becomes statutorily required and where it is optional by the client. Who appoints the auditor depends upon the organization. To whom the report is submitted, also to the people who appointed, the authority appointing, report is submitted to the same. We have taken examples and done that in detail. So you will see all of these things are already covered by us in the discussion. Now let us pick up on the case study here. Rohit, Gurpreet, Ali and Gorita are friends since their school days, based in Mumbai. They have cleared CA Foundation exam in the same attempt and now plan to appear for CA intermediate exams. All of them are avid news listeners and regularly keep track of business news even on social media. So they have given the backdrop of all these 4 friends. They are trying to understand the new subjects including auditing. Rohit, Gurpreet and Ali have also started attending live coaching classes being conducted by the Board of Studies ICAI. Okay. Gorita has not been able to join the live coaching classes yet as she was away on a holiday with her parents. However, she plans to catch it up with her friends very soon. Ali had also joined the class, but he has skipped some of the lectures. So basically here there is going to be that one friend is going to explain to the other what they have understood, because they have joined a class where some are not regular and where one has not attended only because of the vacation. So a basic question is going to be something based on that. During one informal get together, their discussion centered around a new subject of auditing. They discussed many things regarding its nature, scope, benefit and other general practical issues. Now these discussions, so you also must have done with your friends, so you might be able to connect it, because when you are newly introduced to the subject, these all things obviously start coming in your mind, that what is audit, what is scope is, why we do audit, all of that. Gorita was regular in keeping track of auditing results of companies being published in the leading newspapers. As I told in the beginning, they used to catch up the news on regular basis. So obviously she has some knowledge about what has been published in the newspapers. Her view was that audit of financial statements of companies give 100% guarantee to different stakeholders. It is the main reason behind so much reliance upon auditing. So first point that she has been pointing is 100% reliance, which we in our language call as to be absolute assurance. So here obviously her thinking goes wrong, okay. But she could not understand why wrongdoings in financial matters are being discovered after years have gone by. That means after some 5-6 years, after 10 years, they will see that those companies which got audited also, now there are frauds being coming up, there are some investigations being carried out, there are frauds reported. So she is thinking why wrongdoings are happening even after audit is done. Ali also concurred with her view and added that when financial statements are audited, each and every transaction appearing in the books of accounts are verified. So for this, inherent limitations have to be understood very well, because the nature of audit procedures is that we are going to use sample, and in sample we know very well we are not allowed, okay, or we are not having the kind of time required or resources required for the purpose of checking each and every transaction, and that is the reason we will not be able to give a absolute assurance. They are all interconnected, correct. So here even this friend Ali is going wrong. However, he could not give clarity to Gorita, okay. Gurpreet was of the opinion that audit was conducted on the basis of sample. So this is the point that you say you have to attend the classes regularly, listen to all the lectures properly, because after attending only you will be able to get the correct understanding. On the basis of sample checking. So he knows it correctly, Gurpreet is telling it is done on sample. He was also of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoings in the financial statement. So again this understanding goes correct. He knows it is not absolute assurance, okay, so basically it is not a guarantee, okay, the benefit of attending classes. Then, not to be left behind, Rohit also jumped in a fray. He supported Gurpreet and also added something of his own. So you can see that one person irregular, one person not attending the class, his thinking, and 2 people who have been attending the class regularly and they are thinking. Okay, so you will be knowing here who is right and who is wrong by just reading the question. So Gauriti and Ali both go wrong in their understanding about the subject of audit, whereas Gurpreet and Rohit have got a proper understanding of audit is all about. So look at the questions. I am sure they will be simple now. Based on the above, answer the following question. Gurpreet was of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoing. Okay, in the financial matters of the company. What kind of assurance does audit of financial statement provide? So we have done the type of assurance engagements where we know external assuring engagements are audits, and these provide what kind of assurance? A reasonable assurance, high level of assurance, correct? So if you look at it, meaning high level of assurance. So it is going to be C. Moderate level we can't because a lot of stakeholders are relying on it. It provides reasonable assurance, meaning low level, wrong. Reasonable and low level don't go together. Low level is moderate, but basically limited. So that doesn't go well. It provides reasonable assurance and that too high level of assurance. So this is the correct one. It provides reasonable assurance, meaning an absolute. Absolute cannot happen only. Okay, so basically if you look at it, wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay, so the first answer is C. Second, Rohit added that auditor can force an employee of the company to provide him required information and document. Can he do so? Can force an employee. First of all, can the auditor obtain information from anybody within the organization? The answer to that is yes. Okay, as a part of his duty for the purpose of doing the audit, is he allowed to get information from the employees within the organization? Yes. Yes, he can do so. It is necessary to obtain evidence. Yes, he can do so. There are express rights given to him in this respect. See, forcing cannot be done here. No, he cannot do so. He can only request for providing him with necessary information and documents, but he cannot force. Obviously, because forcing is something that we discuss in what? Investigation. So if you look at it very closely, the word force is the highlighter here. Okay, this word force, because force is something that the other person is required to provide, which happens basically in investigation. All right, so you can look at it here. This is not correct. You can only request. Okay, because after requesting, if they don't provide, do we have other rights of modifying the opinion and all that? Yes. So we have other powers with us through which we can tell that we have not obtained the information, where we can undergo change of the opinions and all that. So here forcing cannot happen because we are not doing investigation. We are not CBI officers and all. We are what? Auditors. So we are requesting. No, he cannot do so. He has no right of seeking information. So you can see here that he can do so. So he cannot do so because he cannot force. He can do so. There are express rights. Nowhere right is given to force. So the answer is no, he cannot, but he can only request. That is correct. Last one goes wrong because he has no right of seeking information. If he does not have the right of seeking information, how will he obtain information from the client? How is he going to obtain audit evidence? Correct. So here also the answer will end up with C. Okay, then Ali has listened in one of the class that audit covers all the aspects of the entity and conducted that each and every transaction of entity is verified by the auditor. Gauriti also seems to be in agreement with him, but she was of the view that beside this, it also meant that audit should be organized to cover all areas of the entity. Which of the following statement is appropriate? All aspects of the entity and concluded that each and every transaction of the entity. No, this is wrong. Gauriti seemed to be in agreement. Yes, you have to check it with the view, but she was of the view that besides this, it is also meant the audit should be organized in such a manner to cover all the areas. Which of the following is appropriate? Only Ali's view is correct. No. Gauriti also seems to be in agreement with him, but she was of the view that besides this, it was also meant that audit should be. Besides this means she was already agreeing to what? That each and every transaction. No, the answer is both are incorrect. Okay. Only view of Ali is correct. Ali is telling each and every transaction to be checked. That is wrong. So Ali's goes wrong. Then, if you look at Gauriti, she is still telling she is in agreement with him. So Gauriti also. Only view of Gauriti is correct, wrong. View of both Ali, this is also wrong. So the answer will be only one, that is both are wrong, because here if she continues from here, that but she has to cover all the areas, that is correct. But she is also agreeing with this first part. Okay, so the answer is views of both Ali and Gauriti are incorrect. So these are all incorrect. Okay. Then all of them also discussed about benefits of auditing. Which of the following is not likely a benefit? So for this we have done a discussion of benefit. Okay. So there from there only you have to pick up the points. Since auditing is connected to future events, audited information can be easily relied upon by users. Is connected to future events? No. It's purely based on historical events. Historical. Okay. Errors or frauds may be discovered during audit. Yes, may be discovered during audit. Correct. Government authorities can make use of audited accounts for different purposes. It can help in bringing out deficiency in maintenance of financial records. So the question is, which of the following is not a likely? Not a likely, obviously the first one, because auditing, here they say auditing is connected to future events, which is by itself wrong. Correct? Frauds may be discovered, yes. Then government authorities can make use of it, yes. It can help to find out deficiency in the financial record, because internal controls we do check as a part of our audit. Okay, then Gority told her friends that she has read a news report about a company had misled its auditors by producing some fabricated documents. How a company has misled its auditors by producing some fabricated information, that is manipulative information. Okay, fabricated means here manipulation. Which of the following statements seem to be appropriate in this regard? It was wrong on the part of the auditor to rely upon fabricated documents. He must have discovered it as the same falls within the scope of his audit. Wrong. Okay, he is not trained, or he is not an expertise to identify where there is forgery, where there is wrong documents, where there are fake documents. He does not understand the authenticity of it. He is not an expertise in that area. Okay, so obviously he will not be able to understand whether it is. Obviously with normal diligence, if he is able to find out, obviously he has to, but fabricated information he might not be able to, because he is not expertise in that. So obviously it does not come within his scope. So first point is wrong, okay, because he is telling it falls within the scope. Although it was wrong on the part of the auditor to rely upon fabricated documents, he cannot do anything in the matter. He has to report on the basis of documents provided to him. He has no duty in this regard. Okay, this we can touch upon, but let's see other options, because best answer we have to pick up. Auditor has to conduct audit by exercising professional skill, but he is not an expert in discovering genuineness of the document. Hence, management consisting of dishonest person may have led him to rely upon fabricated documents deliberately. This is correct, because he is not skilled in this area. And when deliberately something is done, it is done as a fraud. And understand, audit is never done for the purpose of identifying fraud. Our primary objective is to only obtain reasonable assurance. But during the course of audit, if we come across any kind of misstatements, or where we see there are some indications of fraud, then only we apply further audit procedures to identify them. So obviously frauds, people who do it are very smart. So deliberate efforts will be made to cover also. So we are not experts in this area, will be able to find the genuineness of the document. So here in this case, C would look more appropriate. Management cannot mislead the auditor due to high level of knowledge and expertise possessed by him. Wrong. This is wrong. The above case is an outlier case, one of the rare cases. No, this is wrong. So it was wrong on the part. So this also, although it was wrong on the part of the auditor, he cannot do anything. No, he can actually look into further information and try to perform some alternative procedure. So this also goes wrong. The most appropriate answer here is the C one. So here everywhere he cannot do anything, that cannot be taken into account. He has to only rely on the information provided to him. No. Here this is correct. He is not an expert in this. Correct. Okay. And management may lead him for fabricated information, to believe on that. Management cannot mislead is wrong. So you can understand the answer is C here. Moving on to the next question of test your understanding. Ziba Products is a partnership firm engaged in trading of designer dresses. The firm has appointed JJ and Company chartered accountants to audit their accounts for the year. The auditor were satisfied with control system of the firm, carried out required procedures and necessary verification. In particular, they carried out sample checking of purchases, traced purchases bills to GST portal, and also made confirmation from suppliers. Okay, so they have done everything with respect to creditors. They were satisfied with the audit evidence obtained by them as a part of audit exercise. An audit report was submitted to the firm giving an opinion that financial statements reflected true and fair view of the state of affairs of the firm. Okay. However, later on it was discovered that purchase manager responsible for the procuring dresses from one location was also booking fake purchases of small values by colluding with unethical dealers. Okay. Payment to these dealers were also made in connivance with accountant through banking channels. Okay, in collusion with accountants through banking channel. The partners of the firm blame auditors for futile audit exercise. Are partners of the firm correct in their viewpoint? Imagine any probable reason on the situation. Now first of all, understand, basically here the more focus is on internal control. Okay, so we did a part of checking of internal control. So according to our understanding, we obtained reasonable assurance that they are good, and based on that we relied upon, and we also performed substantive audit procedures. So we did perform the further audit procedure, and whatever we got evidences, based on that we ended up giving a true and fair view. We is the firm here. But then there is some kind of weak internal control system appearing, deficiency, that is the purchase manager, the employee of the company, is colliding, okay, with the dealers and coming up with fake purchase invoices. All small values are there, and dealing has been going on. So what they have done is, one of the inherent limitation is highlighted here. Inherent limitation of internal control. Correct? So now if controls are failing, can you do anything? No. So these are collusion of the employees. Okay, here obviously even if you want to know the inherent limitations of controls will make it bad. So auditor will not be responsible for it, because did he do the relevant checking? Yes. Did he check what was required as per his requirement? Yes. Did he perform the further audit procedure? The answer is yes. Basically this thing is inherent limitation of internal control. So even if controls are in place, controls also will not provide 100% assurance. Why? Controls also by very nature have what? Inherent deficiency or inherent limitation. So here in this case, the auditor will not be held responsible, because he has done the checking and based on that performed the procedures also. Here, because there is an inherent limitation in the control failure could happen, and this could not be the responsibility of the auditor, because controls is whose duty? Management. Okay. So it is the management's duty, not the auditor's duty. So here partners are incorrect in their viewpoint. What is the probable reason of the situation? Inherent limitation. Correct? So that is the kind of thing you have to give answer here. So more than audit, the focus is on controls checking here. Then meaning of assurance engagement, we have done detailed discussion. We have understood about elements, where we have all together the 5 elements, okay, where all of them are very clearly discussed by us. Then we understood the meaning of audit versus review. Audit is reasonable assurance, review is limited assurance, when, how they are done, and the standards also we have discussed in detail. Reasonable and limited assurance engagement, for us reasonable assurance is going to be audit, and limited obviously we have other assurance engagements that we have discussed about. Then differences we have covered in detail, examples we know them very well. Then we know for us reasonable assurance is going to be audit, limited review, and then we have other assurance engagements. Okay, then we have the next one, test your understanding, 5th question. The management of exotic tours and travels limited requests its auditor Raja and company to provide an assurance report on the financial information for first quarter of a year by skipping required detailed procedure. Can Raja and company provide such a report? What would be the nature of such report? Would it be necessary for them to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence? The answer to that is yes. First of all, they are the auditors of the first quarter. Only first quarter has been asked. So it is historical data only, because it is historical data plus not complete plus not detailed. Correct? So if you look into all these things, you come to an understanding that if it is historical data, it cannot be other assurance, it has to be considered to be review, where you are going to provide limited assurance. Correct? And are you allowed? The answer is yes. So here, can Rajan provide such a report? Yes. What would be the nature of such a report? Review engagement it is. That is limited assurance. Would it be necessary to obtain? Yes. Whichever assurance engagement it is, are you required to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence? The answer is yes. Sufficient appropriate evidence is to obtain limited assurance. Got it? But sufficient appropriate evidence would be required depending upon the type of assurance. So the answer to that is yes. Okay. Then we have qualities of the auditor. We have done detailed discussion with lot of examples taken here. Then we have engagement and quality control standards. The engagement standards are SAs, SREs, SAEs, okay, SRS. And then we have SQC as a separate set of standards which talk about standard on quality control applicable to all the engagement standards. Okay, standards on auditing is there, standards on review engagement, all this we have done detailed discussion. Okay. So just for you to get a glimpse that whatever we have covered is 100% coverage. Standards on assurance engagement, standards on related service, then standards on quality control which will be applicable to all engagements. Okay, and this is non-assurance engagement, and the other all are assurance where you either give reasonable or you give limited assurance. Why standards are each required? For uniformity and all that. Then duties in relation to engagement, all partners are required to perform these. You are required to perform them as per the standards as well as quality control standards. Okay. Then we have the test your understanding, 6th one. You have seen everything has been covered. Okay. Then CAP Babu is conducting audit of financial statements of Quick Buy Private Limited. He was not able to obtain external confirmation from certain debtors due to practical difficulties and peculiar circumstances. However, such a procedure is mandated under one standards on auditing. Unable to obtain external confirmation from these debtors, he relied upon sale details of these parties, e-invoices, e-way bills, and also traced payments from these parties in bank account of the company. He was reasonably satisfied with the audit evidence obtained. Is there any other reporting duty cast upon him relating to the following mandated procedure in one of the standards on auditing? So first of all, they are discussing about a standard which you will get exposed to, or you will be covering it as a part of audit evidence topic, which you have essay 505, where we are going to discuss about the concept of external confirmation. So external confirmation, by this standard we are required to obtain external evidences, that is confirmation from the external parties which we consider to be sufficient appropriate evidences for the purpose of existence, valuation of the debtors and all that, correct? Here what has happened is they are telling you have to obtain external confirmation, but it is not happening. On the contrary, is he able to perform alternative audit procedures here? The answer is yes. Basically, if something is given in the standards, if you are not able to perform, then you have to do it as alternative audit procedure. Alternative if what is not given, okay, if you are able to do by some other way, we call it to be alternative audit procedure, correct? So here is he performing alternative procedures? Yes. So according to me, is there any other reporting duty cast upon him relating to not following it? No. There is no other reporting requirement, because is he performing alternative procedure? Yes. Suppose if he is not even able to perform the alternative procedure, then this would lead to modification of the report, and as a reason for modification, he has to give the reason that he could not obtain sufficient appropriate evidences. Here very clearly he has done all possible external alternative procedure to obtain evidences, and they are saying he is reasonably satisfied. So there is no other reporting requirement here. However, we can just check an answer for this so that we are double sure. He is required to document how alternative procedure performed achieved the purpose of required procedure. Reason for departure has to be documented unless it is clear. His report should draw attention for such departure. Basically, here, if it is unclear, but it is very clearly that he is actually performing alternative procedure. See, if you look at it, he has performed alternative procedure, and he is very much satisfied about this. So obviously, when you do documentation, okay, documentation is what not considered to be reporting. In documentation, which the auditor will maintain as working papers, there he has to write about why and what is the alternative procedure. Okay, so this is required as a part of documentation. Okay, if they are saying reporting duty, if it is very unclear, then you have to give a disclosure. Okay, in the report. Otherwise, in the documentation, it's very clearly given that why you could not follow. First of all, what you have not followed. Second, why, and then what is the alternative procedure. So when we study about audit documentation, the working papers to be maintained by the auditor. In that, we have to mention about what procedure we performed, why we are not able to perform a procedure, and what is the alternative procedure we have applied. Okay, so basically it comes as a part of documentation. Here the word uses reporting duty. So reporting duty will come into picture only if it is not able to give the opinion, it is impacting the evidences or it is impacting the reporting. Then you have to mention about the nature of deviation or the departure that you have done. Okay, that is the answer. But reporting, according to me, it doesn't affect, because if you have got the reasonable assurance, it should not bother, because that is the way in which you have ended up giving the answer. But suppose if you have got a negative report, maybe modified opinion you are giving, then yeah, reason for modification could be this reason, that because of this departure or because we are not able to obtain evidences, we are going to give a negative opinion, like that. Okay, so basically you can see here the question is the answer has to be in such manner that first he requires to document, then reason also he requires to document, and then in the report the departure has to be given, should be recorded. Okay, all right. Then after that we have a case study here to be discussed. Me and You Private Limited has been newly incorporated. The plant of the company has recently started production with the help of funds provided by the bank for purchase and installation of the machinery. Further, company is also utilizing working capital credit facilities from the bank, same bank, for meeting its day-to-day working capital requirement like the purchase of raw material, labor payment, etc. However, just within 6 months of its operation, the management feels that working capital funds are inadequate and situation is creating liquidity issues in the company. The management of the company has approached its banker and requested for enhancement of working capital credit limits. The bank manager is insisting upon financial statements of the company for half year along with report providing assurance in this respect, duly signed by chartered accountant, as audit is far away. So you can see audit is not done halfway, that is interim financials they are asking. Okay, so obviously here it is going to be limited assurance. It also requires projected financial statements for coming years along with the report from CA, providing assurance regarding these projections to consider request of the management. Assurance regarding the projection. The management approaches CAP, who has qualified recently and started practicing. Reports providing assurance for half-yearly results and projected financial statements are sought from CAP. The management provides necessary information and records to him in this regard. Assume in the above case the company only provides trial balance, financial statements in draft, preliminary form, along with accompanying records for the relevant half year to CAP, and request him to provide duly signed financial statements with a report for mutually agreed upon fees. Okay, so multiple things are given here. Let's see the questions and do it. The management of the company has engaged CAP to issue a duly signed report for half year, as referred to in the last para of the case study. Which of the following standard, if any, issued by ICAI are relevant here? The last para is telling they provide only trial balance, preliminary draft of financial statements, and request him to provide duly signed financial statement with a report. So they are basically asking him to compile it. So compilation engagement it is. So because it is compilation engagement, it is a related service. Okay. So in the last paragraph it is related service, and because of that you have to follow standards on related services, SRS. So the answer has to be standards on related service. Which of the following statement is most appropriate in the given situation? CAP can insist management in preparation of financial statements of the company. However, issue of report in such a case is outside the scope of the work. No, he can issue a report. CAP can assist management preparation of financial statements of the company and he can issue an audit report. No, you cannot do both the things together. This is wrong. CAP can assist management preparation of financial statements of the company and he can issue a compilation report. Yes, this is correct in this report. The responsibility of the preparation of financial statement is of the company's management. CAP cannot assist management in the preparation of financial statement. However, he can issue a review report. He can assist management because compilation engagements are allowed. So this is wrong because your second part is wrong. Issue of report is wrong. He can issue audit report, no, because you cannot do audit and preparation together. That is also wrong. So you can assist in the preparation and provide compilation report here. So answer has to be C only, most appropriate. You prepare and then give review report, that also can't be possible. Okay, then. In the above said scenario for issuance of signed financial statements for half year by CAP, as discussed in the last part of the case study, identify most appropriate statement. SQC is not applicable as CAP cannot issue audit report. Identify most appropriate statement. Okay. Standards on quality control is not applicable as CAP cannot issue review report. Standards on quality control is applicable in such type of engagement. It is applicable, no? Because SQC, if you look at it, is applicable to all engagements, whether it is assurance, non-assurance, review, reasonable assurance, any. So the answer has to be is applicable. So in the last paragraph, he is doing compilation engagement, that is, he can issue the audit report. No, here they are telling SQC, here the meaning is SQC is applicable only if it is audit, wrong. Here the meaning is SQC is applicable only if it is review, wrong. So though it is applicable to audit also, review also, it is also applicable to such engagement. So the answer has to be C, most appropriate. SQC will be applicable to this engagement also, because any work done by the chartered accountant, you have to be very careful that the standards on quality control are properly adhered to. Okay, so C is the answer. The banker of the company is also requested for projected financial statements for coming years along with the report for CA regarding these projections to consider request of the management. Which of the following standards issued by ICAI are relevant for CAP in such a situation? Review, no, because review is historical data, they are projections. Okay, there are no standards, no, there are standards for this. It's not a related service. Projected is other assurance engagement. Okay, it's other assurance. Other assurance. Answer is D. Then suppose CAP also accepts the work of issuing projected financial statements with a report to be signed by him. Suppose CAP also accepts work of issuing projected financial statement with a report to be signed by him. The management has projected turnover of 100 crore for the next year, 150 crore and 200 crore of the following year respectively as compared to the present turnover of 25 crore in the current half year. Identify the most appropriate statement in the situation. CAP has to satisfy himself regarding arithmetical accuracy of projected data, wrong. It cannot have arithmetical accuracy because they are estimates. Okay. CAP has to satisfy him regarding reasonableness of the assumptions underlying the projected turnover and consistency with the actuals. This is correct. CAP has to satisfy himself regarding arithmetical accuracy of data along with its proper presentation. Arithmetical accuracy itself goes wrong. CAP has to satisfy himself regarding reasonableness of the assumptions underlying projected turnover, its consistency with actuals, disclosure and presentation. Answer is D, most appropriate. This is correct, but most appropriate is the question, right? Most here they have not covered all the parts, and that is the reason the most appropriate will be assumptions, okay, consistency with actuals, disclosure and presentation, everything. Okay, so the answer has to be D. B is correct, but most appropriate we are looking for. The answer has to be D. Then you have summary in the material given to you. Then you have all the MCQ based questions. So if you look at the content coverage, all of it has been covered as a part of our discussion. So do not have a slightest doubt in your mind that some part has been skipped off or something has been additionally done. No, it has a proper coverage from the institute study material. So you can have utmost confidence in your preparation. Alright. Now let's pick up the next part of it, which is going to be the MCQ discussion. Now let's have a quick discussion of the MCQs. Which of the following is not an advantage of our audit? It provides it's not an advantage, okay. It provides high quality financial information. It acts as a moral check on the employees. It enhances risk of management bias. It helps in safeguarding interest of the shareholders. This is wrong. It is not. It acts as a moral check, yes. Correct. So answer is C, which is not an advantage, okay. Management bias, no. It helps in safeguarding interest of the stakeholders. Which of the following is not true about an assurance engagement? It relates to providing assurance about historical financial information only. No, not true. It can talk about projections also, projected also, and other also. The practitioner obtains sufficient appropriate evidence, correct. There is some information to be examined by the practitioner. A written assurance report is appropriate form is to be issued. So answer is not true, right? This is the A is the answer. Because it can be projected financial statements, you can also give assurance on the design of the internal control system and all. So there are other assurance engagements also. So only historical data not required. Reasonable assurance, a review, both are historical, but there are other assurance engagements also. Which of the following is true about engagement standards? Engagement standards ensure proper rights to practitioner in course of performing of their duty. Engagement standards ensure preparation and presentation of financial statements in standardized manner. Engagement standards ensure uniformity by practitioners in course of performance of their duty, correct. Engagement standards ensure saving in resource of the client, no. Rights of the practitioner in the course of performance of their duty, no. Uniformity by the practitioners in the course of performance of their duty. The answer is C. These all things are given in the content itself, so you can pick up very easily. How will engagement standard help in the presentation of financial statements? That's wrong. Consider following statement in relation to limited assurance engagement. Statement 1, it involves obtaining sufficient appropriate evidence to draw reasonable conclusion. Statement 2, review of interim financial information of a company is an example of limited assurance engagement. Reasonable, it involves obtaining sufficient appropriate evidence to draw a reasonable conclusion. Okay. Review of interim financial information of a company is an example of limited. This is correct. So statement 2 is correct, statement 1 is not correct. Statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Answer is D, because it involves to draw reasonable, no, limited assurance. And statement 2 is correct. Statement 2 is interim financial information checking is obviously limited assurance. Which of the following is true about standards on auditing? These deals mainly with voluntary responsibility of auditor. No. These deal mainly with mandatory responsibility of the auditor. Their sole purpose is to help government authorities in augmenting revenues. No. They deal mainly in carrying out audit according to legal procedures. Standards on auditing, voluntary, no, because it's a responsibility given to them. These deals with mainly with mandatory responsibility of the auditor. Their sole purpose is to help government, no. They deal mainly in carrying out audit according to legal provisions. Answer has to be mandatory responsibility. You can just check this answer. B, yeah, mandatory responsibility. So the answer here will be, we'll see C, A, C, D, B. C, A, C, D and B. Okay. So we are correct about this. Okay. Then moving on, correct, incorrect. State with reasons, in short, whether the following statement are correct or incorrect. The basic objective of the audit does not change with reference to nature, size or form of an entity. Obviously correct. Basic objective is to obtain reasonable assurance. Now reasonable assurance is going to be high level of assurance. So the way in which you're going to perform the audit will definitely be depending upon the nature, size or form. But will the object definitely remain the same? Yes. Okay. The purpose of an audit is to enhance the degree of confidence of the intended users. Yes. For this you have to give, only true is not enough, you have to give the benefits of the audit, you have to give how audit is conducted and why it is conducted, so that you can actually justify your answer. The auditor is not expected to and cannot reduce audit risk to zero and cannot therefore obtain absolute assurance that financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement whether due to fraud or error. This also is true. Reason being, you cannot give absolute assurance because audit risk cannot be brought to zero because there are inherent limitations. And you have to give more weightage to your answer. You can also give 1 or 2 examples of your inherent limitations. Okay? Yes, that's it. So you can see all the 3 are correct. Correct, I told you here you have to give the objective of the auditor, and here we talk about inherent limitation. It has to be your inherent limitation of audit. Clear? All right. So with this, you will get a confidence that from the ICAI study material and the coverage that we are doing in the class is absolutely going to be the same. So we have covered everything. I have covered for your benefit the test your understanding questions also, so that you cannot skip on reading them from the material. Also MCQs, case studies, all that are given in the material have been thoroughly covered. So this is the 100% coverage of the first chapter, that is nature, objective and scope of audit.